Ever since the initial release of Illuminated Cloud, one of the most commonly requested enhancements has been for Lightning development support. I'm pleased to announce that I'm implementing that feature right now. I'm doing so in a series of phases, where each phase is going to bring a subset of the total feature set to the IDE. I'd like to show the features from the first phase right now. For starters, I'd like to show that the various types of files that make up Lightning components and applications, events, interfaces, things like that, are handled in a very first-class manner within the IDE. For example, you can see here that the markup for a component is embedded directly within IntelliJ IDEA's HTML editor. Everything validates perfectly within the file, things like that. Similarly, JavaScript files, for example, controllers, helpers, renderers, application markup, style, CSS, events. You can imagine same for other file types. And just as with Visualforce, Illuminated Cloud offers full completion for both standard and custom components and their attributes. So for example, here's a custom component that you can see in the project view on the left-hand side, and you can see that its attributes are also being completed. And then here is a system component, UI button, and you get full completion there as well. Also, just as with Visualforce, the API documentation or component documentation is embedded directly within the IDE for convenient access. So for example, the custom component, you can see header values, attribute descriptions right here at your fingertips, generated directly off the component in the local source. And for a system component, you can see that it's the documentation that Salesforce provides to their website, directly accessible here, the attribute definitions, things like that. Navigation back and forth between the files that make up components, applications, things like that is also very convenient using IntelliJ's built-in navigate related symbol feature. So in this case, you can see if I wanted to go to the controller for the expense list component, I just need to use that feature and go there. I highly recommend you learn the key binding for this and use that because it's a very fast navigation mechanism. So I want to go to the style file. File creation is also very easy here, and it follows the same paradigm as elsewhere within Illuminated Cloud in that you can define file templates. So for example, application and component event, the design spec, documentation template. You can customize the ones that are provided out of the box. You can create your own. They'll be presented to you when you're creating files of the various types. So let's create, say, a new component. I'll call this new component. And you can see that it's adding the file, it's also adding the metadata file for it, and down here you can see that it's being deployed to the server. You also saw the direct Git integration there as the files were added to version control. Now, as these are being deployed, I'll show that I can also create the other file contents of a component. So you can see that I can create controllers, helpers, renderers, styles, documentation. This is all filtered based upon the bundle type, application versus interface, event, component, and as you add the various files, they're no longer presented for creation. So for example, let's add a controller to this one. It's based on the template that you just saw. We can begin actually adding functions to that. Now I can no longer add a new controller, but I can add, say, a new renderer. I'll go ahead and have that be added to Git, and then I'll add new documentation, have that added to Git, and of course, while this is all deploying down here, I can show that I can navigate easily back and forth between those, so I can go to the controller, or back to the renderer, or to the component. Very quick navigation, very quick creation. I can also go and say I don't want this documentation file here any longer, just delete that, and you can see that the component's being redeployed without that documentation file. Or when that's through, I can go and delete the entire component, and it will offer to propagate that to the organization for me, and it's been deleted. One of the last things I wanted to show was something that was actually added in the previous release in conjunction with the offline debugger, but I have the ability to open, say, applications in the associated browser for quick cycle times. So this is going into my org, and it's actually showing that application. I can go make a change to it, go back over, and use the key binding to come back over and see that change very quickly. So these are the features going into the first release, the first phase of Lightning component support. In subsequent, the main enhancements you'll see are additional navigation features and additional completion features. In particular, if you look at, for example, the component, things like data types and attributes and symbols within formula expressions. components within within attribute values, things like that, just as I have on the Visual Force side. So I hope this makes Lightning development very pleasant within Illuminated Cloud, and certainly over the subsequent phases I'll be enhancing this further. Thank you very much for your time.